Hey everybody, Argent here. I know it's hard to believe, but Justin Trudeau has reached yet another new low this week with his abandonment of the electoral reform process. Now, I was never really on board with electoral reform, largely because I was pretty sure he was just going to use it to force through ranked choice ballot, which would ensure that the Liberal Party would govern Canada forever, and he would basically become dictator for life, which is a scary prospect. The point, though, is he promised, someone did a study, I think he promised like 3,000 times during the last election that this would be the last election we would ever have under first past the post. Never going to have another election, never going to happen. From here on, we're going to have electoral reform. And the Canadian public was harassed by this for months. I showed you the postcard they sent out of the people they sent the postcards to. I think like 1% actually filled them out, and the results of that survey were like that people didn't want electoral reform. So he's like, yeah, we're gonna abandon it. He changed the minister responsible for electoral reform, and so this is his reasoning behind it. No one really knew why he canceled it, but let's just watch this little video clip. Hopefully, it's working. Come on, you can do it.
Is it too optimistic to think we could be one of them?
Fuck you, I don't want to watch that. I want to see Justin Trudeau act like a tool.
It's not too optimistic to believe there's insurance coverage.
Okay, let me just pause this. Okay, here we go.
I respectfully, very respectfully.
You think Kellie Leitch should have her own party?
I think that that's a different conversation. I
No, it's
want
not.
to be
Because
respectful.
it's not at all. Because if you have a party that represents the fringe voices or the periphery of our perspectives, and they hold 10, 15, 20 in the balance of power. The strength of our democracy is we have to pull people together into big parties that have all the diversity of Canada, and we learn to get along. You don't learn to amplify small voices, you learn to listen to all voices.
Okay, let's just break that down. The fringes of our periphery. What the fuck does that even mean? But yeah, you heard the man. We can't have electoral reform because of Kellie Leitch. If Kellie Leitch wasn't running for leader of the Conservative Party, then there would be electoral reform. But because she's running, there isn't. You see, the fact that Kellie Leitch supports a really basic bitch position that we shouldn't be letting ISIS terrorists come in. Like, literally, that's all the... And I'm not even, like, a supporter of hers, because I think she's just basically a liberal who has a bit more balls than Justin Trudeau. But basically, all her policy is if you're holding up, like, an ISIS flag on your Facebook profile, maybe that's not the guy you want to let into your country. But like Justin Trudeau is such a pussy. Like that's too much to tell like some guy wearing like an ISIS scarf, "Oh, you can't come into Canada. You're a danger." He's such a fucking piece of shit that he can't even say that. So, because Kellie Leitch might have her own party, that means we can't have electoral reform. So, in his world, having all voices heard means we have big tent parties where no one's voice is heard. It's not like America where we have like a bunch of caucuses. There's like the conservative caucus, there's the libertarian caucus. Party discipline is a lot more rigid in Canada, and you can get kicked out of your party if you vote against your party on any vote. All votes are whipped, etc. So unlike the Republican or Democratic Party, there's not different factions of it. Like in the Democratic Party, you'll have like Christian Democrats who are a bit more socially conservative but are still like pro-labor rights. In the Republican Party, you'll have social conservatives who are once again a bit more economically centrist. You'll have kind of more libertarians. You'll have a range of perspectives, but that doesn't happen in Canadian politics. Basically, the leader just says whatever. So we can't have more voices, because if we had more voices, then more perspectives would be there. And so we just have to have big tent parties. I mean, it's asinine, and he's taking a lot of shit from this. part of how Justin Trudeau won the election was the leader of the NDP this time was a man named Thomas Mulcair. And Tom Mulcair is from Quebec, and he's, I forget if he's run for the for office under each party. At one point, the Conservatives offered him to be a candidate or something, but he decided to go with the NDP because they offered him more than the Conservatives. So I never really pay a lot of attention to the NDP, but he apparently ran the NDP campaign as kind of more of a moderate, and he kind of ditched a lot of their crazier policies. And Justin Trudeau picked up their crazier policies and just kind of some more quintessentially NDP stuff like electoral reform. And kind of all those NDPers who voted for him, and that's why the NDP lost so many votes, are now pretty pissed off. I mean, you have to look at it. The conservative base has shifted. I think like normally they get like 30 to like 40, 36 to like 42%, and they're at like 30. So they've lost the swing vote, but their core is still voting for them. If there's another election tomorrow, the Liberals are bleeding like crazy. So let's just go through this article. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau suggested that one of the reasons he abandoned a key 2015 campaign pledge on electoral reform was out of concern over parties representing fringe voices gaining too much sway in Parliament, naming Conservative leadership candidate Kellie Leitch as one of them. Do you think Kellie Leitch should have her own party? Trudeau said Thursday. And I love how they give this away. I remember, I think it was something Mark Stein said about newsrooms. They said they'll recruit for diversity of race, ethnicity, gender, sex, financial, social background. They'll recruit for everything except for the only kind of diversity that matters, diversity of ideas. So, yeah, so diversity of ideas means we can't let voices be heard. The remarks were picked up on a boom microphone by television networks about why he thinks we shouldn't have PR. Leitch, an Ontario MP who is seeking to replace Stephen Harper, has made controversial proposal to screen potential immigrants and refugees for anti-Canadian values, an idea that has been compared to those championed by Donald Trump. So the woman said Kellie Leitch was a different topic. And Trudeau said, because if you have a party that represents the fringe voices or the periphery of our perspectives and they hold 10, 15, 20 seats in the House, they end up holding the balance of power. Okay, well, that's what you wanted, though. That was the inevitable. That's what happens under proportional representation. I mean, that's what happens in Israel. That's just the way it is. So Kellie said, my supporters are the majority of Canadians. They believe that we have a shared value set. They believe that we have a unique Canadian identity. And last I checked, the majority of Canadians are with me on the files I care about. I'm looking forward to making sure he's part of the fringe. I mean, you can say what you will about Kellie. She's like 5 times the man as Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau is just such a fucking pussy. I can't believe it. Yeah, he promised it. He said this will be the last election under first past the post. Listen to all voices rather than amplifying small ones. What the fuck does that mean? How can you... It's like everybody yelling in a crowd. How can you hear people if some people don't have microphones? So just as kind of a concluding thing, the problem with this is I don't really care about electoral reform. I don't care that Trudeau walked away from it. But it proves that his electoral reform promise was a lie. And not him weaseling out of it, not him saying, look, I tried to do this, circumstances have changed, etc. He said, I promise this will be the last election under first past the post. He said that. He didn't say, we're going to look into it, we're going to ask the Canadian people, we're going to get all these people to talk about it, and we're going to accept the results of that. He didn't say, we're just going to discuss the issue, we're going to see what the options are, and we're going to make up our minds. If he had have said, I promise to have a process about electoral reform, to have a public consultation about it, then there would be no problem. Then he could just say, look, we had the consultation, people don't want it, I tried. That's all I promised. If there had have been like an outpouring of support for it, I would have had electoral reform. But that's not what happened. So because so he lied, and he's just such a dirtbag. But anyways, that's Justin Trudeau on why he walked away from electoral reform. Daily reminder that Justin Trudeau is a piece of shit. And have a nice day, everybody.